They go to work, they reply to texts, they show up, and behind every single one of those things, they feel absolutely nothing. High-functioning depression is the mental illness that wears a perfect mask, and it's far more common than you think. You know that person who seems to have it all together? The one who never misses a deadline, always responds promptly, maintains their routines? They're exhausted, they're numb, and nobody knows. Welcome. If you've ever functioned perfectly on the outside while feeling hollow on the inside, you're about to understand why your pain is invisible and why that makes it so dangerous. Today we're breaking down high-functioning depression and how to identify it. Society tells you that if you're productive, you can't be depressed, but psychology reveals something completely different. Some of the most functional people are the ones suffering most quietly, and they're the least likely to get help because everyone thinks they're fine. Here's what most people don't understand about high-functioning depression. It's not about being too sad to function. It's about functioning despite feeling nothing at all. Think of your emotional life like background music. For most people, there's a soundtrack playing. Joy, excitement, satisfaction, even sadness. It fluctuates, but it's there. For people with high-functioning depression, the music has stopped. There's just silence. But they've learned to perform the dance anyway, moving through the choreography of a normal life without the music to guide them. Imagine waking up and going through your entire day like you're watching someone else live your life. You brush your teeth, you make coffee, you answer emails, you laugh at jokes, you ask people how they're doing. And underneath all of it, there's just nothing. No energy, no motivation, no feeling. Just the mechanical execution of what you're supposed to do because that's what keeps people from asking questions. This is what psychologists call masked depression. You're not pretending to be okay. You're automated. Your body goes through the motions while your inner world has gone gray and flat. But here's where high-functioning depression gets especially insidious. Productivity becomes camouflage. When you show up to work, meet your responsibilities, maintain your relationships, people assume you're fine. And because you're achieving things, you assume you must be fine too. But achievement and wellness are not the same thing. You can be succeeding externally while deteriorating internally. The function continues even as the person inside slowly disappears. Psychologists call this persistent depressive disorder, also known as dysthymia. It's not the acute, debilitating depression that keeps you in bed. It's the chronic, low-grade depression that keeps you functional but empty. Where major depression is a storm that forces you to stop, dysthymia is a fog that never lifts. You're not crying in the bathroom. You're just going through each day feeling like you're wading through water while everyone else is walking on solid ground. Here's what makes this particularly cruel. Because you're still functioning, people rarely recognize it as depression. Your friends don't worry because you still show up. Your family doesn't notice because you're still accomplishing things. Even therapists can miss it because you present as capable and coherent. But inside, you're running on fumes. Every small task feels monumental. Every social interaction requires acting. Every day is an endurance test of pretending you have energy you don't actually possess. This is what mental health professionals call smiling depression, the exhausting performance of seeming okay while everything inside feels broken. And here's what makes this so hard to identify. The symptoms don't match what depression should look like. You're not dramatically sad. You're just chronically tired. You're not having breakdowns. You're just moving through life feeling detached from your own experience. You're not unable to function. You're just constantly white-knuckling your way through normal tasks that used to be effortless. The depression isn't obvious. It's ambient. It's the emotional equivalent of chronic pain, always there, dulling everything, but never dramatic enough for others to take seriously. Now let's talk about what high-functioning depression does to your sense of self. When you spend months or years performing functionality while feeling empty, you start to lose touch with who you actually are. You know how to do your job. You know how to be pleasant in conversations. You know how to maintain the appearance of a life. But you've forgotten what it feels like to genuinely want something, to be excited about anything, to feel connected to your own existence. This is the erosion nobody sees. You're not failing at life in obvious ways. You're disappearing from your own life in incremental ways. Your interests fade, but you keep showing up to the activities. Your relationships become performative, but you maintain the routine. Your ambitions dissolve, but you keep achieving, because achievement is what keeps the questions away. And the cruelest part? People often praise your consistency, your reliability, your discipline. They have no idea that what they're witnessing isn't strength. It's survival mode mistaken for success. But here's the dangerous trap. Because you're still functional, you convince yourself it's not bad enough to address. You tell yourself that real depression looks different, that people with actual depression can't get out of bed, can't work, can't pretend. You look at your productivity and think, I must be fine, I'm handling everything. Other people have it worse. But functionality doesn't equal wellness. And the fact that you're achieving things while feeling nothing doesn't mean you're not depressed. It means you've gotten very good at dissociating from your own experience. That's not resilience. That's how high-functioning depression disguises itself as coping. So, how do you actually identify high-functioning depression in yourself or others? Research shows several key indicators. First, anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure from things that used to bring joy. You're still doing the hobbies, but they feel like obligations. You're still seeing friends, but conversations feel empty. Everything that used to fill you up now just drains you. Second, chronic fatigue that sleep doesn't fix. You're tired all the time despite resting. Waking up feels like a failure because you have to do another day. Every task, no matter how small, requires an exhausting amount of willpower. Third, autopilot living. You realize entire weeks have passed and you can't remember actually experiencing them. You were present physically but absent mentally. Time is passing, but you're not really living it, you're just enduring it. But here's what makes high-functioning depression particularly hard to catch. You're still achieving. You're meeting deadlines. You're maintaining relationships. You're showing up. From the outside, you look like you're thriving. But achievement without meaning, productivity without purpose, function without feeling, that's not thriving. That's high-functioning depression wearing the mask of success. And the longer you maintain the mask, the heavier it becomes, until the energy required to seem okay becomes unsustainable, and the cracks start showing in ways you can no longer control. Here's what society glorifies: powering through, pushing past your feelings, keeping it together, fake it till you make it, productivity as proof of mental health. But what actually supports wellness? Acknowledging when functioning is costing you your inner life. Recognizing that productivity without presence isn't health, it's dissociation with a to-do list. Society treats visible breakdown as the only valid depression, but high-functioning depression is just as serious, sometimes more dangerous because it goes untreated longer. The fact that you can still perform doesn't mean you're not suffering. It means you're suffering silently, and the pressure to maintain appearances, to keep proving you're okay through achievement, often delays people from seeking help until they reach complete burnout. The mask doesn't slip gradually, it shatters. And by then, the depression that was manageable becomes crisis level. But here's the critical nuance. Feeling burnt out sometimes isn't the same as high-functioning depression. Everyone has periods of low motivation or fatigue or going through the motions. That's normal. High-functioning depression is when this state becomes your baseline for months or years, when you can't remember the last time you felt genuinely enthusiastic about anything. When the numbness isn't a phase, it's become your normal. Here's how to tell the difference. Can you identify what triggered this feeling? Is there a specific stressor that, if resolved, might restore your energy? Or has the emptiness become so constant that you can't pinpoint when it started or what caused it? If it's situational, exhaustion from a demanding project, grief from a loss, adjustment to a life change, that's acute stress. If it's pervasive, persistent, and present even when external circumstances are fine, that's likely dysthymia. And if you recognize yourself in this, seeking professional help isn't optional. High-functioning depression doesn't resolve through willpower or productivity. It requires actual treatment, therapy, sometimes medication, definitely support systems that know what you're actually experiencing. So what is high-functioning depression? It's the depression that doesn't stop you from functioning. It stops you from feeling. It's achieving without meaning, connecting without presence, living without actually being alive. And it's invisible to everyone, including sometimes yourself, because functionality masks the hollowness underneath. If you're going through the motions of life while feeling nothing, you're not weak, you're not dramatic, you're not fine because you're still functional. You're depressed. And the fact that you've kept it together this long while feeling this empty is exhausting, not admirable. You deserve help, not praise for suffering quietly. For those who've experienced this, what finally made you realize it was depression and not just being tired? And for those currently in it, what's the hardest part about the mask? Let's talk about it. And if you want to understand the psychology of people who quit dopamine and don't relapse, That's about rebuilding your relationship with feeling after numbness. It's connected. One reframe, one rule, one move. Reframe. High-functioning depression isn't proof you're handling it, it's proof you've gotten really good at hiding it. Rule. Functioning doesn't equal flourishing. If you're achieving without feeling, that's a symptom, not a success. Move. This week, ask yourself, when was the last time I felt genuine excitement about something? If you can't answer that question, it's time to talk to someone.